Yes. Hi everyone. Very good evening to all of you. I hope that I'm clearly audible, guys. So welcome back. Good evening, Madhu, Lakshita, Bobby, Santosh. Good evening. I hope all of you are doing well, guys. Is everything perfect? Great. So, have you worked on the yesterday's concept? Okay. How was your exam, Madhu? Is it over now? Okay. Perfect. Great. That's great. So, let me quickly share my screen that what we are going to cover in this class so that we can focus on the concept and then we can work on the same, right? So just allow me 1 second. Let me open the Sublime on which we have to work upon. So let's work on that. Okay. So I'm sharing my screen. I hope it's visible to everyone, right? So yesterday we have been working on few of the things, right? One topic which was left, that was fetch APIs and Axios, right? Okay. So this is the first thing that we need to understand in today's session, that what these are and for what purpose we use that. Okay. So this is what we are going to talk about in the today's session. So let me just take a new file and first of all describe what are these so that you can understand the theoretical portion, that what it is about and why we use that. Now, fetch and Axios are commonly, commonly used in the web applications. For what purpose? Yes, they are being used to make the HTTP request, right? Okay, from front end to the back end. Now you try to understand it with the help of example. You just talk about a browser. On the browser, you just go and type there any website. Let's suppose you type google.com, right? Now, the protocol which is been working there, we call it as Hypertext Transfer Protocol, HTTP. That request is being sent on the server side from the client. And more importantly, yes, we are using HTTPS with the more advanced security, which is been there. So can you share the link of this playlist? Yes, Satish. At the end of this session, I will share that again. Okay. So they are commonly being used. These are the two topics which are commonly being used in the web applications to make any HTTP request that we it need to send from the front end to the back end. But the important point that need to take care of this is, while this fetch that we are talking about is built into the modern browsers that we are talking about, whereas Axios is one of the popular library which is known for its simplicity and the extra features which have been provided here. But important point, one more, is to understand that both can handle the same task. What the major purpose for which they are being used is to send a request. Which request? Only HTTP requests that we are talking about, right? And they are most commonly used in web applications. Okay. Okay. So this is the purpose we use these two, which are commonly being used in the web application. Let's talk about in more detail that what is fetch and how does it work. this is one of the API, which is a built-in feature of this JavaScript available in the modern browser. And very simple thing that we need to do to make it work is to send a network request. And how we need to send that network request? Through this HTTP protocol. Yes, we need to use this fetch method, which is nothing, just the part of your window object that we have been working upon. So this method is going to return a promise that resolves with the response to whatever the request which was being sent. I hope you remember that what is a promise in JavaScript, right? We have already worked on that. A promise is nothing, is an object which represents the result of any asynchronous operation. Okay. Like you talk about that operation can be in any of the state, like it can be pending state, fulfilled state, rejected state, right? Maybe the operation on which we are working upon, uh, yes, it might have completed successfully, or it has been rejected, or maybe it is in the initial state, right? Before it begins. So promise is one way in the JavaScript which provides a structured way to handle the asynchronous code, right? Okay. To make it easily managed and more readable as compared to the traditional callbacks that we use. Okay. One of the major problem that we face of this asynchronous operation we face in threads. I don't know, you might or you have exposure to the other programming languages or not, but in the programming languages which are object-oriented programmings, right? The major problem that we face is with this asynchronous uh, asynchronous operations, right? Because the threads that we are talking about, they are lightweight processes, right? They are independent processes, right? And they just work on their different states. So promise handles these asynchronous operations. Okay, the results of these asynchronous operations in such a way that it becomes easy for us to handle that. Okay, this is why we use that. Okay, just once again. Okay, this is why we use that, right? So now the point is how we are going to use that. This is one of the major tasks, that how we are going to use this fetch method that we need to add. So this is the syntax that we have to apply. This is the fetch method, and this is the method. Obviously, it's a function, so it will have some parameters, and the parameter that we need to send here is URL to the source to which we have to send the request. So there are two things that we use: dot then and catch. So in dot then, it handles the response, and in case if there is a response, like for example, Madhu, let's suppose you are sending a request to a page and the page is not available. Obviously, you will get a 404 error, right? That page is not available. Okay. There can be other uh, errors which can be there in your code. So we are using this then and catch in order to handle the errors there actually, right? Okay. So it is going to handle the response here, and in case in your response there is some error, because we don't want the entire code to just get stopped. This is one of the reason we use this catch here, in which we define this error and that need to be handled here, right? So or the alternative that we need to set for the same. Okay, this is what we do. So the fetch function is used to make the network request and return a promise. And then dot then method handles the successful response. But in case there is an error in the response, then catch is going to handle those errors which occurs during that request. This is why we use fetch method. Is it making sense to you guys? Is it okay with everyone? Do you understand? So fetch we use to send a HTTP request, and that request we send it to a URL, And in order to send a request, we use fetch method. And we use dot, that fetch method is going to return us a promise. And this dot then is going to return, is going to say, use to send the response. And in case the response is positive, it will work. In case the response is not positive, then in that case, catch will work and handles the error here, right? This is why we use fetch, but that's an API which is a built-in feature of the JavaScript, okay? Now, another thing that we have is a Axios. Now, what it is and what is the purpose of that? Yes, I'll tell you. Now, this is the second API that we use, which is nothing, just a third-party JavaScript, right? The major purpose for which it has been designed, obviously to make requests. I mentioned it, right? But what is the difference between Axios and Fetch? Fetch is a built-in JavaScript feature, right? And used in modern browsers. Whereas Axios is a third-party JavaScript library, which is designed for the purpose of request. And more important, it works with both Node.js and browsers as well, right? But Fetch only works with the browsers, modern browsers, right? Like Fetch, Axios also uses the Promise API. It is known for its simplicity and more features which has been provided here, such as request response, interception also, right? Error handling also, and support for canceling the request also in case it is required. Whereas in Fetch case, when the request is sent, yes, there is no support for the cancellation of that request. It has been sent. But in Axios, we got extra features, that interception of the response and request, error handling move, and third important is support for the cancellation also. Where we use fetch method and we pass the URL in the previous. Here what we use axios.get because it's a third party library. Third party library means it is going to provide us the functions and we have to use the functions with the help of this. Like I hope you must have done Python. In Python, we have done pandas, numpys, few libraries that we use, right? So pandas provide various functions, but we use that library with importing it with the keyword like pd dot, whatever the functions, data frame, all those functions which are there, right? So Access is also one of the library actually, third party library that we use. So in order to work with the get function, we need to call this library. And while we call this library, we need to use it with this request axios.get. And then we are going to pass the response. In that similar way, we are going to use that obviously for error handling, which include the dot then and dot catch. In dot then, we are going to get the response because it is also going to return us a promise and catch in case if we have any kind of error. So both are used for the similar purpose, but due to the third-party JavaScript library, it has the ability to work with the Node.js also, and it has the ability to provide extra features also, which includes interception of the response and request, and also provide the support for canceling the request also in case if it is needed. So this get method makes a get request to the specified URL and return us a promise. And dot then again use the similar concept to handle the successful response in case we are having an error. Dot catch handles any error that occurs during the request that we send, right? Another point is that we need to understand when to use fetch and when to use Axios. Now we got to know that one is third-party library, one is the inbuilt, using inbuilt APIs to send the request, HTTP request. But now the point is when to use fetch and when to use Axios. That is one of the major thing that we need to understand, okay? There's a big question mark in when to use fetch. We need to understand that. Now fetch is a great choice in case if you are preferring what? In case you are preferring a lightweight and native solution, okay? New solution without the need of any additional libraries. For example, I'll say, okay, I know that this work can be done easily. I can easily send a request, right? I just need to send a simple request. So in that case, I would be preferring that why I need to send a request by having a third party libraries. I can simply send that request, right? So in that case, if we are preferring a very lightweight and native solution, Fetch is great to work on that because it has been built in the modern browsers, so there is no need to install it. If I'm expecting very minimal dependencies, yes, Fetch keep your code base very slim. And yes, it also provide custom error handling. That means you will need to manually handle the errors, but this gives more control on that, right? So we, this is where we can use Fetch. Second part, when to use Axios. Now, obviously, when I'm expecting more things, when I'm expecting additional features, when I'm expecting additional interceptions for the request. So Axios is perfect to use if we are looking for more advanced features and a higher level of convenience in handling the request. So request or response interceptors, we have automatically JSON parsing. We have easily handling the request cancellation. That means we got the ability that we can stop the request whenever it is required. But that was not in Fetch. Timeout handling is also available here. That means we can set a timeout in case to avoid the indefinite hanging. For example, we send a request, right? Let's suppose the server is not able to fetch the data. The request keep on browsing over there, right? Now, at what certain stage it need to stop? Because if it doesn't support a stop and the request keep on sending again and again, then obviously there is no need to use that, right? It's just like I'm calling someone and someone is not responding. Obviously, eventually there will come a point when I will stop calling that person, right? But what certain timeline that we need to define? We cannot say, okay, I will indefinitely call that person, right? Similarly, when we are sending a request, it is very important that for how long it can send the request indefinitely. But is it a better solution? No, obviously, if the server is not responding, then we need to set a timeout that is being provided by Axios, right? That means more advanced features we are talking about. We can even track also the files uploading, downloading, and it has very simple error handling similar to then catch that we have seen. This is why we got these two topics, which are very easy to build and very easy to handle, right? That is why we use this fetch and we use this fetch and Axios, right? Depending upon the need. Tell me if you have any doubt. Tell me if you have any doubt in the theoretical portion, first of all. Anyone in the class? Yes, Madhu. Bobby. Any other participant in the class have any doubt? Is it okay? Perfect. Now let's try to work with the fetch API. Just let me get the water bottle, okay? Just give me 1 minute. Yes. So let's try to understand this with the implementation, that how we can send a response using fetch API, right? This is what we need to do. Okay, let me complete this first of all, fetch API, Bobby, then I'll explain Axios again. Okay, just give me some time. I hope the screen is already shared. So let me delete that and save this file. I'm saving this as fetch.html only. Okay, desktop. So let me define this HTML code. This is fetch API that we are using, and we need to send a request. Obviously, not to send a request, what I would like to do, I would like to take one. Obviously, I need to call that fetch method, right? And I want functionality to perform. One thing is I can get it perform automatically. Just 1 second. Yeah. Uh, so we are going to implement that, right? So obviously, I would like to uh, get this functionality done. Okay. Guys, you have to excuse me for 2 minutes. There is someone at the door. Okay. Just excuse me for 2 minutes. Yeah, sorry guys. I hope I'm audible again. Really sorry. Yeah, I hope I'm audible to you guys. Okay, so let's complete that first of all. So we are expecting to implement this fetch method and send a request. Now, in order to send a request, I would just like to have a button. So once I click on that button, I want that functionality to get called, right? So for this button, okay, I'm just defining one attribute, Madhu. Okay, Bobby, right, and others. So I'm just defining here a functionality. Let me just take the method as on load data, right? This is the method I would like to get it called. Obviously, I'm going to write the functionality for the same. We have not written it yet. So once this button is clicked, it is going to call this method for which the functionality we are going to write it down. Okay. I would also like to do one thing. I would also like to have one unordered list. I hope you know that what is this UL about, right? It is unordered list, right? In which I would like to have some data. Okay. And so what I want is I want to keep this unordered list as empty, and I just would like to describe one ID here for this. And what that ID is, that is post list. Is it okay? So this is what I have defined here, this ID. So once we are going to send a request, it is going to mm, once we are going to click on that button, sorry, it is going to send a request to the URL that we are going to add, and whenever whatever the response that will come, I would like to get that response in this unordered list here, which is having an ID as post list. Okay, this is what I want. So now we have got the button and we have got this unordered list again also, right? Now I would like to send a request, obviously, and for that we require a URL, and we need to write the functionality. Obviously, any functionality that we write, we need to write it on the script part. Is it okay? On the script tag. So this is the script on which we are going to write. We are going to write the functionality, and function name is load data. Okay, this is the function, and this function will get called once we click on this button, and we need to write the body for the same. Okay. So I'm going to use this fetch method here inside that function, and we use this fetch method to call the URL here, right? So I would like to call one of the URL, just taking one of the example, right? That is that page in the form of this JSON, right? Okay. I'm going to send the request through this, right? This has the HTML code uh, written in that format of this specific page through which we are going to get some of the request, right? So this is a URL to which I would like to send the request. And obviously, I have already mentioned that this fetch has two parts. Yes. So I would like to call this fetch method here. And with that, we have two parts as already mentioned, right? One is then, because this fetch is going to return a promise, right? And for successful response, we have then, and for other part, for having any kind of error, we'll have dot catch. Okay, this is what we are going to define. So two things that we have to define. We can have more than one then also, obviously, if we expect to fetch more different data, right? Successful request if we want to, right? Because on a page, it's not like that we can only send one request. It is possible that we can send multiple requests also, right? And to have a successful request, we have to use this then, in which we are going to keep all the requests which we need to send over there, right? The catch part is only to handle error. It's not mandatory to have multiple catch, that if I'm sending multiple requests, I need to have multiple catch. Catch is only one we need to keep, right? So it can also capture whatever the error that we can get in multiple requests also. It's possible. So we are expected to have only one catch. That's totally fine, right? So dot then, what we are going to do on the dot then, we are going to call one of these variable that is response, and response dot, I would like to send this request dot JSON. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. With this response, I'm sending this JSON request to this particular URL, right? And that is going to store in this variable. So it will have, it will get uh, the page in request in the form of this JSON, and that will be stored in this variable, right? Because whenever we send a request to a page, we need to assess the data, Madhu, right? And it's not like we can just we can get the data directly from the page. We need some of the other libraries or the request through which we can interpret and send. I don't know whether you have done Python, but in Python, I hope you might have heard about one topic that we call it as to get the that we call it to get to fetch the data, or web scraping we say, right? Okay, sorry, I forgot. Yeah, we call it as web scraping, right? That to fetch the data from a website, but you know that has been written in HTML and have the JSON code also, through which for which we actually use one of the library called as beautiful soup library, right? Through which we send the request. First of all, we send the request, then response will come. If it is positive, then we are going to use this beautiful soup library to get the to parse the data in that form, right? JSON form, and then we fetch the data, because otherwise there is no way directly we can get the data from HTML page. Okay, we first send a request, and that is why we are sending this. We have sent the request first of all to this URL using this fetch. If it is a positive, then we are going to parse that page in the JSON, and then we are expecting to get the data, right? Now, once we get the data, let me also show you guys that this page is in which format, so that it would be easy for you to understand also, right? Okay. So let me open the browser, and let me just send, let me just open this page. Yeah, I hope you can see this page. Is it visible to you guys? Is it visible, Madhu? Is it visible, others? Perfect. Now you see here, the page got passed into the JSON, which is having this user ID, then ID, title, 4 attributes are there, and for which data is defined. Second part, third part, there are so many, there's so many data which is present there, right? That it has been actually passed into the required format that we require to fetch the data from HTML. We cannot directly just get the data. We need to pass it first of all in the JSON format, and then with the help of one of the library, we can get the data, right? So this is why we are using that. Now, obviously, if I am expected to get this data, there are different tags. I hope you can see that, right, Madhu? Okay. The body tag is there, title is there, ID is there, user ID is there, right? Which has been defined. So we can get the data. Yes. That element by ID also, right? We can fetch it, and then we can eventually get the tag, whatever the data that we expect to get it, right? Okay. So this is the request which was sent, and we'll get the data in stored in this variable, and the variable is a response variable, right? Now the next part I need to define here is the variable. Yes, we require multiple variables, but I need to fetch the data first of all, because I would like to present the data here in this unordered list, which is currently empty. Do not have any data here, right? This is the place where I would like to, get the title of all the pages, or five, or maybe for 5 IDs, I need to fetch the data. Okay, this is what I want. So obviously what I need to do, first of all, I need to assess this unordered list also, right? From on which we need to store the data. So what I'm going to do, yes, I'm using here document.get element by ID. And what is the ID? ID is the post list. Is it okay? document dot get element by ID, and that is the post list. Is it okay? That I'm going to store in a variable. Let me define the variable as data. You can also define any variable name. That's totally fine. Okay. In which we are expected to write all the things. Is it fine? So that is what we are defining here. And storing this in a variable, defining with the constant, and let me just take the name as a list. Okay. So this is the first response that I'm sending, and this is I'm assessing the date, assessing this unordered list first of all, which is currently empty, and whatever the this tag is, I'm just storing in that variable, and the variable is we have is the list. Is it okay? This is what we have. Now we already know that this is empty. In case um, you feel that there is some data over there, yes, you can make it empty also. Is it fine? How? I hope you know on any on onto this particular tag which we have stored in this list. I think we can assess the data using inner HTML. I hope you must have done it, right? So I'm just keeping it as keeping this as empty, right? I'm not going to define none here. I'm just going to put this single quote here empty, and that means what we are doing, we are clearing uh, any previous data which was there, right? Okay, that is what I'm doing here, Madhu. Is it okay? Right? It was not required, just in case that uh, we would like to keep it empty. This is just a precautionary step that we are taking, right? Okay. So this is the response that we got, and we are defining another data variable in which we are doing this task. Define this variable to assess this unknown list and keeping this and clearing all or clearing any previous data which was there. This is what or old results which are there, right? Now what I need to do? Now I need to do what? Let's suppose I would like to assess the title of few of this post that I was showing it to you, right? Okay, let me share my screen again. This. Now you see here, we have a list here. In each list, we have on different index, we have different data was present in the different attributes, or we say IDs, right? Or we say um, tags here. We have a body tag, we have ID tag, user ID, title. I would like to fetch the title of the first 5 IDs, let's suppose. Okay. Obviously, because if we are talking about this is an array or some um, data which is storing more than one variable or one data, obviously it's a objects that we are using, right? And the point is we need to assess the data one by one. So either manually we go to each index, which is a very hectic task. This is the reason we use loops, right? And that's where I would like to use here a loop that will help us to get the data. Is it okay? This is why I would like to use. So what I'm going to do, let me go to the code again that we were writing. Yeah. So I would like to do here data dot. We use one method called as slice. Okay. We use one method called as slice, and I would like to say here 0, 5. Now what it is, starting from 0 index and it will go till 4 index. It will have ID 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? Yes, assessing the range of the data. Because we have n number of data, I'm just trying to slice from this entire data, whatever it is. I would like to just slice the first 5 data. And on the first 5 data, you also see on each 5 index, it's not like only one data store. Na? Like you talk about this is 0 index, right, Madhu? On 0 index, we also have 4 data which are present, right? We have 4 different variables, 4 different tags which are there, which present there, right? So that means I need to run a loop, and in each of this loop, if I would like to print here this title, I need to assess that tag first of all, right? Maybe using ID we can also do that, but yes, I need to run the loop here. Okay. I need to run the loop here stating for each, okay, E should be capital, for each data, for each index, 0 index, 1 index, 2 index, 3 index, 4 index, for each index, what I want to do, I want to assess the data, right? So for that, I am defining one variable in which we are going to store everything, and that is the concept we are going to describe here, okay? So document dot get. Now again, what you would like to do? Yes, if you would like to create some data, yes, we are going to use, because we assess the title and then we need to store it somewhere. This is the reason what I'm doing. Document dot, I'm using a create element, okay? I want to create element that we use to define this li here, which is nothing, just a list. And that I'm storing in a variable constant I'm keeping as li. This is what I'm doing. Now with the help of this li, I would like to define here text content, and on this text content, I would like to store the title of each post that we are having. Okay. So that we are going to use for this, we are going to use here this dollar, and we are going to assess the post, right? This is the variable that we need to keep in which entire list has been defined. And what I want to do, I want to assess the title tag. This is what I'm expecting to do. Is it okay? Right? So once it is going to create this element list for this uh, 5 indexes, in each of this index, we have 4 tags which are there: user ID, body, and title. So I've defined a list, and the entire list, Madhu, I'm keeping in this variable as post. In the entire list of this 5 index, in each index, I would like to assess the title tag. And using dot operator, we can assess the tags also. Okay. So post dot title, I'm assessing, and where I'm storing in this list and of storing in the text content of this list. And what we need to do, we need to append it. Like in the Python, if I would like to create a array list or array, we use append method to add the data in that, right? Append or insert method depend upon the situation that where we would like to add at the last, or we like to add at certain place. We use method, right? Now, similarly, this is nothing, just a list which is available to me that we have created. We are assessing the title from each index, storing in this variable. And then what we need to do, we need to insert it in the list, right? And what it is nothing, just my list that we have defined. Because here in this unordered list, we have created a new tag here with the name li, which is list. And I would like to assess first 5 titles, and I would like to create the list here and storing in the same location. That's why I have defined this list here. You can clearly see. Is it okay? So list dot, but here, because here in unordered list, we are creating another tag which is li. I hope you know this is a parent and child tag. That is what we say. Okay. So in this list, I would like to add new tags. And for this, we cannot just use any of the function for which we have the function available to us. We call it as append child. Okay. In this list, I want to do what? I want to append the child, which is nothing, just the list li variable that we have defined, in which we are storing the title of each index, each 5 index that we have defined, each 5 index that we have defined. This is what we are using, and it is going to append in that. So we need to put semicolon there. This is this parenthesis is for post, I guess so. And this is for this data that we have defined, I guess, right? So let me put semicolon there. And I think we are successfully done with the request that we are sending to create a list and append the child in all of this, right? Then in case we got to have any error, we need to define an error variable for the same, but that need to be defined in the catch. So I would like to write here console.error. So whatever the error that we get from the console, I need to fetch it and I need to print in this variable. Okay, this is just I want, comma, error. So that is the catch that we are writing. So this is the script that we are going to write, and obviously we are going to open in the browser. So once we are going to open that, it will available, right? So let me just do one thing. Let me share the screen with you guys so that we can understand and we can make it work. Okay. Let me open the browser. Yes. So let me share the screen with all of you. Yeah. So you see here, we have 5 titles here with name SUNT, this, right? Okay. So this is we are trying to test. I've opened the code in the browser. Let me open that. So this is the button that we have created. Let me click on the button. It is sending a request through the fetch. And you see, we have got the result of the first 5. We have got the results and we were able to fetch the 5 titles from the different indexes. Can you see that? And from where we are getting? Yes, we are eventually getting it from uh, the URL to which we have sent the request. Okay, let me copy it again and let me paste it again. Right? Okay, you see here. Okay, this is index 0, entire index 0. We assess this title, first 5 titles. This is what we were expected to achieve with this request. I hope it is fine with all of you. Is it okay? Right? I would like to share this file also with you guys so that you can see and you can practice it also, right? I hope it was an interesting topic we have learned, and the rest of the things that we can do in the next class, it's totally fine, right? Okay, I just don't want to rush it. I want you guys to understand the things so that it would be easy for you to handle that. Okay, so I'm sharing the file with you guys. In case you got any doubt, any concern, just let me know. Is it okay? Do you understand the concept? Fetch API. Here we have not used any advanced uh, request or something. Similar kind of pattern we are going to use in the Axios also, but that with the get method. Okay. Not much difference in the code wise what we are going to achieve with the Axios, just the get method that we need to do. But yeah, we can skip few of the things like we have taken a data or .json because it also works with the JSONs, right? Okay. With the fetch, it was not able to understand. That is the one of the reason we parse it, okay, with the JSON. But Axios understands the JSON. So in that we need not to parse. We can directly work with the JSON that we can do in the next class, right? So I hope it was fine. It was good. So thank you so much for attending the session. Rest of the things we can keep it for next class, and I request all of you to please practice it. And in case you need any guidance or any other point, just let me know. Okay, that's it from my side for today's session. Bye bye. Good night. Take care. And we'll meet on Friday. Right. Thank you.